Okay, there's quite a few of us here now, so we might kick off, and anyone else can catch up when they get here. Hello and welcome to the Digital Twin Fan Club. As you can see, we've gone for some heavily 80s inspired graphics and theme, thanks to Jonathan Monkley. So for anyone who doesn't know who we are a group who got together a few months ago now, really just to talk about, discuss, explore the concept of digital twin, and see if we can come up with a consensus across the industry of what it is, what the benefits are, the value, and things that we should bear in mind as we progress, just to make sure that we don't make any mistakes, and to ensure that we learn lessons from those solutions, technologies, concepts that have come before us. So the core members of the group are myself, I'm Vicky Reynolds. We've got Simon Evans.
Hello.
Silent Simon.
Simon has crashed, I believe.
We've got Jonathan
Hello.
Monkley. We've got Henry Femby
Hello,
Taylor.
I'm here, as is the merch.
And we've got Neil. Oh, and we've got Neil Thompson.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
And we have also got Paul Clarke with us here today, who's going to be our keynote. Hi, Paul.
Hi there. Hello.
So we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. If you have anything to say and there's something going on, like a presentation, if you've got any questions for Paul or anybody else in the meeting whilst they're talking, drop it in the chat and I'll see if I can either ask the question for you, or if it's the right time, I'll unmute you. But there will be times throughout the session as well where we just want it to be a bit of a free-for-all and get the conversation going. So in that instance, I'll let you all know and unmute yourselves and join in. But apart from that, we have an exciting agenda for you today. Kicking off with a keynote from Paul Clarke, who's the CTO of Ocado. I'll let him introduce himself, probably much better than I ever could in a moment. And then we've got an interactive session on a Miro board. It's sort of started with the concept of a national digital twin, and it's grown into something a little bit more specific. Hopefully you really enjoy it. And in fact, actually, before that, we're going to do a Q&A session with Paul. And then we've got a couple of games. We've got digital twin versus digital bin, which you might be able to figure out what that is, but it will become clear when we get there, I promise. And just a Twinute. Depending on how old you are, you may or may not be able to figure out the reference to the game show. And then we've got a cheeky little outro and just a virtual social so that we can all carry on the conversation, have a chat. We'll tell you a little bit more about what we're doing, the podcast that we've got coming up and all that kind of good stuff. So I'll pass on to the guys with the actual talent and I'll speak to you all later.
Well, that leaves everybody else out. Okay, well, first up, we do have the very good and great Paul Clarke. We've had him on to the show, and we are editing his piece at the moment, which we will be putting out this week. I say that, I'm putting the pressure all on myself for that. Paul, thank you very much for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Henry. So look, hello everybody. As has already been said, Paul Clarke, day job CTO of Ocado. I wear a few other external hats. I'm on the AI Council. I co-chair something called the Robotics Growth Partnership that's all about robots, and a few other ones that I won't bother to go into. But anyway, well, I'm also quite involved in the National Digital Twin Programme, which I'll kind of come back to at the end. I love the idea of this fan club, not least because I'm, much to the dismay of my children, probably, I am passionate about digital twins. I've been asked to talk a little bit about my journey with digital twins that's been going on for a while now. I suppose my fascination comes from the fact that I'm really interested where the sort of hardware and software worlds meet, where the physical and digital worlds collide. And at that intersection, live at that cyber physical intersection, live smart machines, which is what a lot of my day job is around, but also live digital twins. And once again, we make a lot of use of those. I feel I don't need to really define digital twin to this group. Normally I do, because as we all know, it's a heavily misunderstood term, but I think I'm going to assume that everybody here has heard quite enough from various different people about that. I actually started my journey with digital twins in my first job, building simulations of things that you weren't allowed to talk about in those days because they were classed secret, but they were basically around how to drop sonar buoys from helicopters in the right kind of patterns to knock out submarines. So probably at this moment, GCHQ or somebody swooming in, to my house, but anyway, hopefully not. After doing lots of other things in between, when I joined Ocado and I was walking around the warehouse the first time, one of the very early questions I asked of the guide was, you did simulate this before you built it, didn't you? And the answer was no, because they were a startup in those days and they didn't have the time or the money to do that. So when I joined, a few months later, I decided I need to put that right. So one of the first things I did was set up a simulation team. And the vision for building what was then the first project, which was to build a simulation of our first warehouse in Hatfield. Why did we want to do that? We wanted to do that to de-risk the physical world before we built it, to stress test the designs for future warehouses and try out, obviously find exceptions, to optimize the performance of that warehouse because it was a very complex system, 32 kilometers of conveyor, hundreds of junctions, 8,000 plastic crates whizzing around at any one time, massively complex piece of machinery to optimize, to reduce the cost and obviously the impact of maintenance. So that warehouse was constantly under evolution. We were always inventing new mousetraps, and we needed to be able to model what the impact of a mousetrap was before we installed it, but also to work out what's the safest way to deploy it without bad things happening. And to try out both production software and hardware before we deployed it. I'll come back to that. And really to accelerate innovation and exploration so that we could do that faster than real time. I think it's safe to say that everybody I was trying to sell that idea to thought it was completely mad, but I was sort of somehow humored in that aspiration of building that simulation. And so we set off and did it. We built a team. And there were no tools out there that would let us model the kind of thing that we needed to model at this warehouse. We looked around, so we decided we were going to have to build it ourselves. So we had to build basically the simulation framework from the ground up. It was written in Java because we were a Java house, and our aspirations started small. So we took one of the individual elements of that warehouse and modeled it, and started comparing the results of that model against the physical twin. And it didn't compare terribly well to start with. And then we realized, there were some aspects of the physical world we'd left out. So we put those in, and the results started to improve. But because we were going to have to model that whole warehouse, let alone many future warehouses, we decided to do something quite unusual in the simulation world, which was to take a data-driven approach to building the simulation models. Normally simulation models, as many of you will know, are quite handcrafted, but in those days, certainly that was the approach. But what we did was come up with effectively a data description of the warehouse with all of its kind of various parameters and the ones that were significant. And then we did code generation, if you like, to build the simulation model from that data definition. And what that meant was that as the physical twin evolved, grew up, new mousetraps were added, so to speak, then we just changed the data, hit the button, and off, out came a new model. And that really turned out to be an absolute game changer for us. So we went on a kind of an evolutionary journey. It started with simulation, which is obviously modeling that warehouse and slowly building it out piece by piece. But the next step was to move from simulation to emulation. because in order to run the production software, we needed to evolve that simulation to something that was sufficiently high fidelity that actually it represented the real hardware. And that's what an emulation is. It's effectively, as many of you will know, it's a high fidelity simulation that is kind of representative of the hardware. And that was very important. So it allowed us to run the production software on top. And part of that journey was to do what's called hardware in the loop emulation, where you start, some things are in software and some things you're introducing the real hardware as part of the overall hybrid model. We also built a visualization of this. I'd love to be able to show you that today, but maybe another time. But anyway, it was done initially to visualize the results of the simulation, but it turned out to be a fantastically useful tool on its own, because we designed it such that we could play back the real warehouse data through that visualization as well. So as well as being able to play back the model, if you like, through it, we could play back the live warehouse data. And what that meant was you could kind of say to the thing, take me to 2:30 in the morning, take me to a particular junction in that warehouse and show me, play it forwards, play it backwards, do things you couldn't do if you were standing next to it, like take away all those plastic crates from the 8,000 I mentioned earlier that don't meet these criteria, color all the ones that have had this exception blue, and so it turned into an incredibly powerful tool. And indeed, it got deployed in the control room of the live warehouse, so that they could use it as a diagnostic and monitoring tool. But the next step was to turn that simulation emulation into a true digital twin. And as we know, that means conjoining it with the physical twin so that data flows from the physical twin into the simulation. And then optimizations and insights flow back and update the real-time control system that actually is controlling the warehouse. And that allowed us to start, if you like, optimizing the behavior of the warehouse, in real time, and also to do kind of look ahead, exception handling. How do you get back to a steady state? I mean, if you think about, cars on the road, when you've had a crash, often you'll have driven past a crash and it's all been cleared up, but there are still, there's still these kind of standing waves. And often that's why the police will drive off, when the traffic is released, so that they can get the traffic back up to full speed in a controlled way. Because if you just let it go, you get kind of a ripple effect of standing waves. Well, the same thing happens in a warehouse. When you fix a problem, if you just kind of turn it back on again, you can get standing waves too in the kind of automation we use. So initially we were simulating what we had built. Then we started to simulate what we were going to build, like the next warehouse, which we built in the Midlands. And then we started to use simulation to model stuff that we were dreaming of building, So this was about, using it to power ideation and our innovation process, including, for example, simulating our next generation of technology, which was swarms of robots rather than, miles of conveyor. Now, we build a lot of smart machines, and smart machines, they don't burst onto the world, kind of fully grown up. They're a bit like human beings. They have a kind of a gestation and growth cycle. They're typically ideated or designed in synthetic environments, like I've been talking about. Then you start doing emulation and hardware in the loop testing. And then when you've kind of got to the limits of what you can do in digital kind of modeling, you need to kind of put them into semi-real world, realistic environments, which are called living labs, and there you can expose them to lots of other experiences. And then even once they've left home, so to speak, a bit like adolescent children, occasionally they need to come back and they have problems they have not encountered before, and that's where you need to be able to put humans back into the loop using technologies like haptics and teleoperation. So that's the kind of gestation cycle, which is relevant for what I'll come and talk about. So we used these simulations to optimize our systems. We've used them beyond that to generate synthetic data. So, for systems that don't exist yet, we can generate data, which we can start using to train machine learning models, which will be in the control systems, but before the physical twin exists yet, if you like. We've used VR to allow people, like clients, to fly through warehouses that we're going to build for them before we've built them. So that's part of the concept. But the thing that's really exciting is the idea of connecting AI and machine learning models to these simulations of digital twins. Why? Because they can go off and do the kind of the optimization, the parameter search, the sensitivity analysis on those different parameters, and explore optimizations that frankly are beyond what humans would come up with. So it's the kind of AlphaGo, AlphaZero type, game. But in this case, it's not a game of Go we're playing. It's, how do you make a huge automated warehouse sing? We've built simulations in many other areas of our business. We've built them upstream on things like, forecasting what customers are going to buy, the behavior of customers, things like that. Why? Because we need to use that to test our forecasting models, which once again are all machine learning based now. We've used it downstream for modeling, our routing of thousands of vans going out each day. So one way or another, this ability to build digital twins and synthetic models is now one of our deepest core competencies. It's at the core of pretty much everything we do. I think you're not allowed to give a presentation nowadays without mentioning, the impact of COVID. So I'm going to meet my statutory obligations now. At the start of the pandemic, a couple of the questions that were asked, one was, where's all the data we don't have? Real-time crowdsourced data quickly. And the next one was, where are all the smart machines? And as I've explained, one of the reasons you couldn't just magic those smart machines up, whether it was to clean hospitals or deliver PPE or manufacture scarce resources or whatever it was, is because of that gestation cycle. So we need to weave them into the fabric of everyday lives. And that's kind of what the Robotics Growth Partnership is very focused on. But in the Robotics Growth Partnership, we're also very focused on building shared synthetic environments so that companies who aren't like Ocado or Arup or Rolls-Royce or Boeing or those who have deep expertise in synthetic environments, so that it's available really to everybody. Why? Because collaboration isn't just about Zoom, as we all now have learned. Collaboration is about being able to potentially log in to a shared synthetic environment and start co-creating with other people all sorts of things, including smart machines, but not limited to that. And this is really about building horizontal digital infrastructure for the UK, which is something I'm very passionate about. Now, it's incredibly timely. Am I doing on time? Okay, 2 more minutes. Incredibly timely that we're having this the day after the comprehensive spending review, because many of you may or may not have noticed in the small print of something called the National Infrastructure Strategy, that digital twins and the National Digital Twin Programme were cited. And I'll put a link to that strategy in the chat in a second. And that's very, very exciting, because that really is about putting the National Digital Twin Programme that you are about to model from sort of the slightly crazy vision and aspiration of quite a lot of us to actually something that's going to happen. So I'm hugely excited about that. I think one of the other things that the pandemic showed us, certainly at Ocado, was although we could go home and start using synthetic environments and 3D printers, we couldn't get into the physical robot labs. So I think one of the next things we're going to focus on is how do you build digital twins of labs, both virtual labs that, where you can do virtual digital experiments in digital twins, but also remote access to physical labs. So teleoperation of robots again in the lab. And the bigger picture here that I will leave you with, which is obviously the subject of one of the 2 podcasts that I have done with Professor David Lane from Edinburgh, which will be coming out, is about this idea of logging into this Twinternet, as we called it. And that is all around this idea of the National Digital Twin Programme. But all of that is really building towards the concept that we talk about in the other podcast, which is the planetary digital twin. And at the time we recorded that, it probably all sounded a little bit fantastic, but some of you may have joined the conference that happened at the start of this week, which was run by ESA, the European Space Agency, which was all about building what's called, they call the digital twin Earth, which is the EU version of a planetary digital twin. So once again, I'll put that in the chat too in a second. And then finally, if you want to hear more, if you've not been heard quite enough about our journey with digital twins, there's a much more extensive explanation of that in a blog that I wrote 18 months ago, which I'll also put in the chat, which was done for the Cambridge Centre for Data-Centric Engineering, that really kind of goes through it at exhaustive detail. So if you haven't had enough, you can have that. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. Hope that's answered. Very happy to answer any questions. Back to you, Henry.
Thank you, Paul. I think, as you've probably gathered from Paul's repartee, this is why the National Digital Twin really needs to incorporate and is incorporating this wider view, because there's so much expertise kicking around in other areas, in logistics, in robotics, in manufacturing. So it's really interesting to hear what you've got to say, Paul. So thank you for sharing that. We do have a couple of questions. If there are any more, please get ready to put them into the chat and stop talking crap in there, if you don't mind. Quick intermission just to sell the merch. Can everybody show their t-shirts, please? We are going to have some t-shirts available. They come in a variety of colors, and we don't all have them on yet, and they've not all been delivered. But if you want to support us to get some more podcasts to you and let them get out a bit more regularly so we can pay somebody to actually edit these, that would be fantastic. Okay. Yeah, I thought Neil was actually going to just do a full change in front of us there for a second. This is not that sort of show, Neil. So thank you for not. So I think one of the questions that came up was about physical stores, Paul. You're very much dealing with a logistics system, but what's the future of the kind of the interface with customers going to be like in the future in terms of having a physical place to go get stuff? I mean, it all feels very perverse and different right now. You know, I'd much rather never go to a supermarket ever again.
I think. I think it's about choice, and I think the answer is people will be using many different channels, you know, for many years to come. And I think, though, we all know that physical stores will evolve. They've been evolving on the back of this pandemic, but you know, there's lots of automation that you can add to stores. You know, whether it be, you know, tidying up shelves, you know, checking everything's moving, anything needs removing in terms of, you know, beyond its sell by date, you know, restocking shelves, cleaning floors, whatever it is. So it's really a question of what the appetite of, sorry, and that's what you mean before you start, you know, using robots to build, you know, stores and all of that. So it really is up to the appetite of those retailers that have stores. Obviously, Ocado doesn't have stores, so I really can't speak for them. But the point is, one way or another, smart machines are going to be part of the fabric of lots of parts of our lives in terms of making us more, you know, prosperous, more efficient, keeping us safer, you know, helping with climate change, you know, automating the jobs that we would rather not do. And it's you know, once again, the role of digital twins in all of that is to explore, you know, how that physical world might evolve, because we will want to model it before we build it, whether it's autonomous vehicles on the road or whatever. You know, so I think I don't know exactly how stores are going to play out, especially given what's happened to retail, you know, over the last year. But I'm utterly convinced that we will see significant automation finding its way in, and not just silly robots that greet you at the door and speak incomprehensibly at you, but actually think robots that do real useful things.
I think that's interesting. I think countries like Japan have already started using robots, and they seem to have a slightly different cultural view of the role of robots in the future of the world. I think, to be honest, certainly in the UK, I think we'd break robots if they were outside greeting us. I'm pretty sure somebody would kick them in, and that's, you know, that's a cultural fact. If you leave something outside in the UK, it's going to disappear if you don't nail it down. And even if you do it might still disappear. Okay, do we have any more questions? Oh, here we go. They are rolling in. I am going to start from the top with Miranda. I'm saying from the top that I can see.
Henry, should we get people to ask their own questions?
Shall we? That's a good idea. Miranda, would you like to read out your question to Paul?
Yes, I might read it in a different order so it makes more sense. So I reckon. Hello, Paul. Thank you very much.
Hi.
It's always interesting listening to what is in effect a digitally native organisation describe its digital twin sort of journey. And I wonder, have you ever had to think about what your killer use cases are in Ocado, or has it always just run through your DNA? And if you ever had to think about it, what do you think they are? And I've put the ones we're recognising in the National Digital Twin Programme are around asset management, assurance, and systems thinking. So do you recognise those, and do you have any to add to it?
I think we've always had a backlog that, where we've never, we've never had the luxury of getting to the end and wondering what to do next. It's always been about just prioritizing what we haven't done yet in terms of modeling, because I suppose we're really on a journey to build an end-to-end digital twin of our entire platform and business, in the same way that we're on a journey to try and build an Ocado brain, 1 neuron at a time, which is kind of like, that understands our business and helps make us mistakes and blah, and is far beyond what AI can do at the moment. So I think there are some parallel tracks here in terms of building out AI and machine learning, building out the modeling, and I think in terms of your list, I mean, it seems like a good list. For me, it's around accelerating innovation. It's around managing complexity, and de-risking, what you're doing, being able to do the kind of narrows type modeling to try and make sure, that when significant kind of exogenous shocks like the one we're living through now come along, that, how will you respond to those? This pandemic is obviously, despite being forecast, is one that, we have not had something as bad as this before. And probably, but we all know that there were things that we could and should have done to prepare for it, to be more resilient. And as I like to put it, if you can bring down a whole planet by stacking 3 crates of animals in the wrong order, there's a lot to fix. And I think digital twins, and smart machines, I think will play a part in that. And that's just going to be the warm back for climate change. So I think there's actually a very long list of things that digital twins do for you. But as the CDBB knows, that it's not just about the built environment. It's about building digital twins of, institutions like our healthcare system, like national government, like all sorts of things. So, and about the built in and about the natural environment. So I think across those different kinds of frontiers, there are different problems to solve with digital twins. So I don't think necessarily, when you say asset management, I don't know what asset management would necessarily be for the natural world. Maybe that's managing sheep, or maybe that's managing icebergs. I don't know, but the point is, I think it's a different set of priorities really there than it might be for smart buildings or driverless cars. I've answered your question totally well, by the way. Sorry about that, man.
You said how difficult it was to answer, which I think is sufficient. I think you've moved some way. Now, next up we have Jason Whittle. Are you there, Jason? I can see you.
I am. Yeah, thanks, Henry. Hi, Paul. Thanks for that.
Hello.
Yeah, my question is about the platforms that you've used and developed for Ocado. Are they bespoke platforms that that Ocado have got, and is it your intellectual property, or is it stuff that others can buy and use and kind of grow and develop?
So no, it is ours. We built it from the ground up. It's not for sale as it is, but we have open sourced some bits of it on GitHub, and not all of it. But I think part of this vision of building shared ways of platforms for building shared synthetic environments is around how you might crowdsource that kind of shared environment and make it available to researchers and SMEs and startups and public sector and so forth. And I think there, hopefully, we've already got people who said they might provide, aspects of their technology in that. So I think that's the journey we want to do there. So slightly watch this space on that one. But obviously there are commercial offerings out there. Some are better at modeling some things than others. I think if we were still embarking on our journey today, would we have to build it for ourselves? I think we would, actually. I don't think there's anything out there that quite does what we have. And some of that is about the real time, the ability to run it conjoined with the real-time control systems, that, and share the code between those. That's quite a special thing, it's because that means that, because one of the problems with digital twins is if you're having to maintain them in lockstep alongside the physical world as it evolves and all of its software, that's quite intensive. But if there's any way in which you can make the two share some DNA, so to speak, share some code, then you can reduce that overhead. And that's kind of what we've been able to do. But we would have really struggled to do that if we used an off-the-shelf commercial product written in goodness knows what language, and probably with all sorts of things that we could never have changed and evolved and tweaked. And I think being in control of your destiny is one of the great things about building from out, but it's not cheap. Building it, as we know, building it yourself is an expensive job, and not everybody has the luxury of being able to invest in doing that. Given, for us, it makes sense because we're a platform business now. I hope that answers your question, but I think I would hope that more will come with open sourcing.
You actually answered two questions there, so thank
Did
you.
I? Okay, good.
Yes. Somebody else was asking about buying your software, so I think you've kind of answered that. There is a link in the chat to Ocado's GitHub, so you can have a look at that. Adam Box, I think you're asking a bit of a key question about what digital twins are about. So I'd like to hear your question.
Yeah. Hi guys, hi everybody. I've been listening in. I've not been inflicting my image on you because I don't have a sexy T-shirt to wear, so I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, my history with digital twins has been quite lengthy. I can remember being absolutely blown away by the original time I ever saw it, which was the CEO of General Electric showing how they represented all their jet engines within their computer systems. So my takeaway from that was really about the interaction between the physical world and the simulated world. And to me, that's the digital twin. Unfortunately, as we've seen, as happened with BIM, and we're all getting old and crusty these days, I just see digital twins being morphed again into some sort of design software, all of that. You can see the software houses just landing on it as a profit mechanism. But I just wanted to ask you, have you achieved that for me, what is a digital twin, which is a live representation of a physical asset that you can see, monitor, interact with through a simulated computer interface?
Yes, quite a number of them is the answer across our. That's why I don't know what point you joined, Anne, but yeah, absolutely. It frustrates the hell out of me that digital twins, are so misused as a term. Some people it's a static data model. At our end of the spectrum, it is exactly what you described, and I think that ability to ask those kind of what if questions and to have sufficient fidelity of the physical twin that you really can model it with a high degree of confidence that the predictions and the optimizations and insights that you generate actually will be representative of the physical twin. And that, yes, so long answer to a short question.
I mean, for me, it's great to see. I mean, when we look at, okay, you're in the engineering space. I'm not going to say it's easier for you to do, but because you're owning the whole environment right through, you've got much greater control over the whole process. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges within the construction environment, is that there isn't that single source of control, contractual obligation, payment. It's just fragmented, and you've got too many players doing things in their own interest. So yeah, there's a long way to go, but yeah, thank you for actually being one of the true deliverers of a digital twin.
And just to add, I mean, that's central, what you've just described there, that challenge, that is the challenge of building a national digital twin. It's how do you glue together models? How do you allow safe, controlled sharing of digital twins? How do you have provenance on digital twins? How do you know how they've been verified and validated? How do you, all of that kind of stuff because this is not some big bang, one person's going to build it, one organization to build it. We've got to get lots of people building it, especially if we want to build a planetary digital twin. And have a look at that ESA program. They're doing it in a slightly different way than I would do it, but it's great to see the aspiration of wanting to do this at a world scale, because I think that really, really could help us with climate change.
Yeah.
There's some interesting discussion around the prioritization of the national digital twin, and that being that's certainly something that's being picked up in the chat a lot. We are looking, we've got people talking about how do we manage the natural environment, and we've got Ian saying, of course, we should prioritize highways because that's what Ian does. Where's your face, Ian? Where's your face? And we've got Matthew Jackson saying we should prioritize tigers, which is also valid. Not necessarily what we'll do though. But how do you think we should go about prioritizing the national digital twin?
I think this is just my view. So health warning. I'm not running the program. There's lots of enabling infrastructure that I'm sure we've talked about, and others have talked about. Mark Enns has talked about, information management framework and so forth, around being able to glue together digital twins and the data infrastructure, to collect the data, to feed them, and all that sort of stuff. So that's got to be built. But assuming we built all of that, you're going to have to seed the process of the National Digital Twin Program by building what I would call seed digital twins. Like the tree. We were coming up towards Christmas, the trunk and if the trunk is that kind of shared infrastructure, you need to build some of the limbs of the tree, which then others can start adding, if you like, their digital twins too. Because if you don't do that, there really isn't going to be any first mover advantage to add your digital twin into the mix, because there are going to be no network effects you're going to get back. You're not going to. So I think things like roads, transport, tigers, road transport, healthcare, maybe our food system, which is one that I'm involved in, energy, and then of course aspects of the natural environment. Can you persuade the Met Office to provide a version of their amazing climate model, because no one's going to want to build that for themselves. That then introduces the whole question of maybe some digital twins you're going to have to be able to pay for. Maybe you'll get a low fidelity version free, but then you're going to have to pay for an upgrade if you want a really high. So I think this is all the kind of stuff that we have to solve, but we need to get the kind of some core digital twins in there built as proofs of concept and as exemplars of how to use the underlying infrastructure, but also so that people can go, oh crikey, there's a transport, or there's a highways England digital twin. Now it makes sense for me to start modeling this, that, or the other on top of it, or maybe people like Transport for London providing digital twins of all of their kind of systems, so that if you're an applications builder, you can test them out. So I think we need those C digital twins, and that's what I would see as the priority. And I think you choose them based on impact and also the level of connectivity. Are they a branch that lots of other branches and twigs and leaves will hang off, so to speak, or are they quite niche? Because if they're quite niche, then probably it's not a priority. Does that answer your question?
I think it did.
We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take it.
That was awesome, and frustratingly, we have run out of time for Q&A. But I think we will probably revisit some of those conversations at the end of the session as well. So if anyone wants to hang around and keep chatting through those things, then please do. We're going to move on now, though, to the Digital Twin Interactive session, which has gone through a few different iterations over the past few days. And I'll let Simon and Neil explain to you exactly how it's ended up.
Yeah, guys.
There we go. So there should be a link that we can all follow.
Is that in the chat?
I hope so.
If not, I've just posted it there. It's a Miro
Okay.
link. So follow that.
Thank you. Yep, got that.
There you go. Can I share my screen as well?
Yeah, share your screen.
So those who haven't used Miro before, you don't need an account. Just follow the link and join us straight away for the fun.
You can tell who owns an account.
Who's got the profile photos?
So yeah.
So for the keen fans, you may recognise the alignment grid from our episode with Ian, and Ian's with us today. Hello. So what we're going to do here is Simon. I wonder if.
Do you want me to explain?
Is there a focus button?
There is. I brought everyone to me, and you should hopefully be able to see my screen.
Okay, bring to the title. So how could a digital twin be used for? Is the task. So what we're going to do is use the alignment grid, and there's an example over here on how we want to characterize our different types of twins. I think I'm going to have to lean on Henry here to help me. What's the appropriate way of using the alignment grid, Henry?
So, well, this is the Dungeons and Dragons one. So certainly Dan Rossiter is very familiar with this. So at one end you have lawful good, which is somebody who upholds the law and does the right thing. Now, somebody who is lawful evil will follow the law and will follow contracts that they've signed, but they will always be out for themselves, and they will be out to do over other people. If you're chaotic evil, you don't care about anything. All you want to do is destroy. And if you're chaotic good, you will do the right thing no matter what gets in your way. So whether that's the law or not. And true neutral is the Buddha mind, the central piece of mind and stuff. So effectively, hopefully that gives you an idea that basically there's an evil kind of selfish, antisocial aspect, and then there's a more universal, caring, open, charitable, and law-abiding aspect to this. So it's a blunt instrument, but that is what you're looking at.
I always tend to fall down to chaotic evil in this space. I don't know why.
Do you want to give us a working example, Jonathan, so we can help? So what the task here is, let's think of some. How can we use a digital twin in these different areas and see how many we can think of.
I'm going to put one in.
I think one of the ideas of connected infrastructure opens up new ideas for crime without security. So the idea of the ability to control infrastructure, to embezzle money, control road networks, to take infrastructure hostage, hack a nuclear power plant, cut power to a hospital and hold it hostage. There's the idea of, like, in chaotic neutral, you've probably got, or lawful evil, you've got corporate espionage and all that kind of space. But then up in the top left-hand corner, you've got things like improve air quality through monitoring it and controlling pollution, various other things. But for some reason, I don't know whether it's because of some of the computer games I've played in the past that kind of focus on this stuff. I always kind of have ideas in the chaotic neutral and the evil, chaotic evil space. So I apologize to everyone for that.
I see we've got a logo already in lawful evil.
We have, haven't we, for that? So if you haven't used Miro before,
no comment.
No, what? So we do have an example on the left-hand side for you to have a look at. Superman is lawful good. Yeah, that's Neil's hovering over it. People are drawing on this. Can I just say, you're all pretty chaotic, and I love it. This is great. It's like watching the screen, all these little buzzy bees flying around. So get in there. Stop putting yours in. Let's see what you've got. Show me what you got.
So we've got loads of post-its around the edge of the board here, if you're not used to Miro, and you can see them all, the coloured little squares. If you just click and drag one, drag it onto some square of the alignment grid, and then just click on it and start typing like you would in a Word document or something. That's how you add your items. So use our lovely post-its around the edge to get started.
One of the interesting discussions we had, I think, when we recorded Paul's podcast, was the idea of what if we had a global digital twin with the ability to control the pandemic and monitor, track and trace on a global scale in not real time, but obviously it was never going to be real time. But that's obviously a very positive thing in this space. There's another idea.
I'm putting in crappy bandwidth as chaotic neutral. Chaotic, yeah. Oh, should that be? No, that's right. Yeah.
I think the middle space is quite difficult.
Yes.
Because it's like our brains are split between good and evil, and it's like top and bottom. The middle is like kind of a bit evil.
We are used to just filling the air with noise, guys. We've been doing a few podcasts. If you do want to turn your mic on and shout at us, get out. No, please do.
Ian's got something to say in this space.
Guess who can be the most creative with their ideas here? I'm loving the pictures being put in. That's pretty good.
Distracting people from voting by sending them cat videos at inopportune times. Nice. Genius.
You always have to be suspicious of the people who have really fast ideas for chaotic evil. Like just hold off a few seconds so that it doesn't seem like it's come to you too easily.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you had a list, huh? Did you have a list, Jonathan?
No.
Wild free market. Oh yeah, images is a good shout.
Lawful good, just generally the police. Nice.
I'm intrigued by Make Everything Better. I want to hear more about that. Who wrote that down? Can you turn your mic off and turn your mic on? Sorry.
That was me, Vicky. I tried to get out of my chaotic evil space and just make everything better, because that's the idea. If you think about the majority of ideas of digital twins, it is about making things better. But like anything, the internet was about making the world better, but it has opened up that space for crime.
Was it originally for making the world better? Was that the use case for it?
I don't think any of the creators of the internet will have wanted the idea of social media controlling the public and all that kind of stuff, will they? They'll have never predicted that as a thing, apart from who was the musician that predicted it in like 2001?
David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Yeah. Maybe
I reference that in like every podcast.
You need to drink for that one. It's interesting because it's
Cheers.
my brain's gone funny now. Too much caffeine.
Too much excitement, maybe.
Maybe it's just fizzing with
True
excitement.
neutral, constructing excellence. I like it.
I have a sneaking suspicion I know who the two images are from.
You can right click and it'll say who it's from.
So let's see. This is the joy of being anonymous.
Ooh, guest number 3.
Who is guest number 3?
Who wants to claim it?
Doesn't take a policeman.
I mean, I think an interesting question, or I find it interesting anyway, is what levels of granularity and abstraction you want to build these. Because obviously, we're going to potentially, I remember speaking at a synthetic biology conference about building digital twins of, synthetic cells, that level, all the way up to, personal digital twins like we talk about in the podcast a bit, digital twins, patients, things like that, all the way up to, digital twins, obviously, of countries and planets, but it's the level of abstraction that and how do we glue them together, and do you want quick and dirty digital twins that give you some approximation, and then highly accurate, high fidelity ones, but which are much more difficult to maintain and costly to build and so forth, and and how, as I say, gluing them together vertically and horizontally, I think is one of the things that interests me.
That's given me an idea actually for a neutral evil, which is just the wrong data leading to the wrong decisions,
Or
costing
low quality
lives.
reference data.
I'd be intrigued to see whether you can do chaotic evil easier with quick and easy, and if good will take more effort, more data, more information. You know, is it easier to be evil than it is to be good?
It's a good question. I think, I mean, from my perspective, you need to build. See, there we go. That was quick and easy, wasn't it? A chaotic evil person on the big screen.
Did anyone notice that the tag who wrote that was Huawei?
I'm about to chip that person out of the meeting because I think we have a hacker. There's chaotic
Hello.
evil.
Hi.
As if we've been hacked.
How have we done that? Because we
I
didn't
think
share the
it's
link.
because someone put the link on Twitter.
Not this one, we didn't.
Yeah, we did. The meeting room.
Oh wow.
Nice. So I think this kind of
actually,
underlines the point a little bit.
In my mirror, I cannot see that. I can see that on the screen share, but not in my mirror.
No, I can't see it on the screen share either.
So you can't see my screen now. All this.
No, as in what you're seeing, I can't
Someone
see.
else's screen.
Yeah, same here. I
Yeah,
can't see
like
that on
it
mirror.
looks fine for me.
So this is a perfect example of chaotic evil. I think this
Wow.
is.
I think this
Jose
does set the
Amaro,
point.
let's Josh.
What is happening here, though? That's crazy. Because like,
Someone's hacked the whole meeting. I can't see any participants.
Yay! Nice. Joys.
So then,
let's
So
let's bail out of the Miro and.
incidentally, they actually just hacked the share screen because it was not actually appearing on the mirror. It's just on the screen. I
they've
had.
hacked the whole Zoom.
So what?
So I can't see any people in the meeting anymore. We have no attendees.
Yeah,
We're all here.
We can see you.
Yeah, I've just been asked to send nudes. So that's
yeah, saw that. Saw that.
Wow.
I could have been
so
any.
what I suggest we do then is let's drop out of this. I'll send a
No.
I'll send a meeting. I'll send a new Zoom meeting.
Just to confirm, everyone, this is not a drill. This is actual
Yeah. Shout out, but
I did a minute timer.
you do the minute
We'll do the
timer.
minute timer.
If you want to get involved, shout out if I hesitate, deviate, or repeat myself. But then you have to be ready to take up the
From where
the mantle of whoever you are.
To the end of the minutes.
Thank you to Dan for coming up with this idea. That's why his photo's there, and
It's
I know
lovely
he's here.
caricature.
Appreciate it.
So, with that in mind, Henry, your question to start with
Okay.
is, or your sentence to lead from is, digital twin is not.
You gonna lead me in?
You
That's
just
the
start.
question. You just go for it. Digital twin is not.
A digital twin is not a BIM model. A digital twin is not a fairy, nor is it a plane, an automobile, a factory, a car, a tree, my teeth, my eyes. There are so many things that a digital twin is not. And that is why it is exceptionally easy to talk about this for a minute without hesitation, deviation, or repetition. I could, in fact, say that the moon is not a digital twin and continue to say that other planetary bodies, such as Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury, are also not digital twins. So therefore, I am still very much within the terms of this, just a bit.
Someone buzzing for a
hesitation there.
hesitation.
That's a definite buzz.
That was hard.
virtual
That was
kazoo
hard.
there, Henry.
So I'm going to ask from the audience, our lovely audience here, who would like to take up?
Well, no, Simon, you
Yeah.
challenged, so you've
You
got to
challenged.
go.
It's
You got
gotta go.
16 seconds
Wow.
of to go.
I got to start again, did I? I don't start.
No, you
again.
got
No,
you got the final last. So you got 16 seconds.
Okay, so digital twin is not a unicorn. In fact, you could say that if anything, it's the opposite of a unicorn. It would probably be a
Meh.
gin.
You said unicorn twice.
I can't. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. That's a shame.
That's back to Henry's
I have watched this show for years.
For years.
You're at a distinct disadvantage. How long have I got?
10 seconds.
Sweet.
Wow, that did poorly there. 6 seconds. So digital twin is not.
A digital twin is not an attempt to replicate the information that is provided inside a static 3D model. No, a
Bing,
3D
bing, bing, bing,
model.
bing.
Blah, blah, blah.
So
Well done.
I repeated myself just as the time went.
No one challenged you, so there's a point
No
to
one
Henry.
challenged you.
But Simon gets a point for a correct challenge as well.
I do. So, more importantly, shall we get some audience participation on this for our next
Yes,
question?
I want Miranda to have a crack at this.
Yes, I was just thinking, Miranda.
Fantastic.
On
Are
the
you
sort-
keen, Miranda?
Always.
So,
that's the
here,
spirit, kind
The
of.
next question to lead you on, or the next starting frame is, a twin would let me. And go.
A digital twin would let me do many interesting things, but the most important thing that I would need to avoid is not understanding the business question I was trying to solve first. Other problems, I've even forgotten what the flipping subject was.
A digital twin would let me.
So that was Simon again, wasn't it?
Yeah, Simon, another point for a
Challenged?
correct challenge.
Yeah, well, I feel I'm going to pass my one on
Oh,
somebody else to take part, because otherwise I'm just going to be challenging being too keen.
Yeah, but then you get pulled out just as quickly. Don't you worry.
Because
Yeah.
I'm just crap at it.
I'm gunning for it now.
Yeah, that's it. So see if Miranda's going to snatch it back.
See you, Tom.
All right, Tom. Bye. Good to see you.
A digital twin would
She's
let me get my Zoom meeting hacked when I was in the middle of presenting a really exciting session that was going on, talking about how chaotic digital twins would be if they were ever used in a manner that wasn't really acceptable for the human race to do things. Taking that further forward, we might think that when you connect digital twins together into some crazy connected ecosystem, you will then end up with some really, really bad stuff happening as the result of it. So I would say that digital twins would probably let me do something miraculous, like understand whether or not it is possible to eat cheese off a plate upside down in space, because I don't know if such a thing could be achieved if your name was SpongeBob SquarePants or not. And then I think if you took that to Twitter and started tweeting about it with this backdrop of really
Time.
retro games,
Oh, well.
Wow.
I would have buzzed you for deviation if I wasn't time master, but
yeah,
no one
I was
else
enjoying
did.
it too much. I was enjoying it too much.
I got distracted by the Twitter feed next to me came with a picture of SpongeBob, so that took me way off course.
So Simon, well done. Correct challenge
you.
and took
I
us to the
didn't-
end.
I didn't anticipate to get all the way to the end there. So, audience participation again. Would you like another shot, Miranda?
You got anyone else to pick on?
This is because you're on my
Is
screen.
Dan still with us?
Yeah, Dan. I can see you, buddy. I think he might be in company.
I was trying to listen as opposed to play. But yes, I am still here for about another 1 minute.
Oh, that's perfect
Oh,
for just a Twinute.
Twinite. So, your lead in, Dan, is if I could weigh a twin.
If I could weigh a twin, it probably wouldn't weigh very much at all. And that's because although it consists of many bits and megabytes, there isn't actually an accepted amount that any of those things might weigh. We could try different ways of looking at it in terms of, could you perhaps weigh the implications in more of a kind of psychological or economic sense? But again, I don't think there are any decent metrics in order to do those sorts of things either. This makes the idea of weighing a digital twin a very difficult thing to do indeed. I'd wonder whether you could do something like that with a information model or an IFC file, but I think those are also equally difficult to weigh. This
Ding.
means to
Oh,
Too many difficulties.
oh,
I think that,
That's
yeah,
a-
I think there were
that's-
too many difficulties in there.
that's a correct challenge for Miranda there.
You've got 20 seconds to go.
So, can you go on with a digital, if I could weigh a digital twin?
One could argue that the weight of a digital twin is one of its least important attributes. However, it's also true that a 3D digital twin might weigh a great deal more than an appropriately useful two-dimensional version, which, if properly attributed, could probably solve a great deal more problems and deliver a great deal more benefit to the relevant stakeholders. Weighing twin.
Time. Well done.
Boom. Very good.
How are we doing, Vicky? Pole Master Queen.
Can you see the crazy eyes? We're about
1 minute off.
we're about 30 seconds away from being there. If you can
Excellent.
give me
You've got
30
5 minutes.
seconds.
You've got 5 minutes.
Time for one more. Who would like to have a go? We've got a great one coming up next.
Be shy.
KC.
Start picking on people.
Yeah. What was the first name I saw?
Is Casey
he's
there?
He's on mute.
He's going to stay on mute. Webcam fail.
Yeah, it's just like, nope, not happening. I'll tell you what, we should pick on people we can see.
I can have a go.
I was going to say, Stephen, our number one fan.
Let's have that.
Steven.
He's got a hat on his head as well, a little virtual hat. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So here's one
Positive
for you, Stephen.
party.
That's brilliant. We've got a great one here. Digital twin software.
Digital twin software cannot solve everything. You can think about it. So there are thousands of ways that softwares can be used, from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000. So many different ways. But the problem is there's no digital twin software, I think.
Drop mic.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, next. Who is next?
Who was that? Who challenged?
I challenged.
Did you? Who's I? Sorry,
Matthew.
Matthew. Brilliant. So do you want to play off digital twin software?
How
long have you got left?
Oh, sorry, you've got 34 seconds left.
Oh, damn it. All right, I shouldn't have challenged. All right, go on then. Call me in.
Go. Digital twin software.
In some ways, you could already say that it exists. It depends on what your outcome and your business goals are. What do you need to know, and what do you want this twin to do for your business? If it's a single data stream backwards and forwards, one could argue that an IoT device to an iPhone already exists, and in some way at a product level already represents a tiny, weeny little digital twin. But there's no overarching or kind of
Time.
Oh, well, nobody challenged you.
well.
We should have done. We just like to watch you suffer.
I just got stuck. That was lucky.
I'll challenge, even though no one challenged.
Too late.
You get
Time's
half
up.
a second.
Over.
So
Is it?
have we got time for one more, or are we coming? Is that the end of our event here? Our series of.
Well,
Just,
I'd like to just pronounce myself the winner and the king of just the Twinute, despite the fact that I sucked. And in fact, no one's challenging me though. I'll just continue speaking. Vicky, Crazy Eyes, how are we doing?
We're good. We're ready. What problem? There's no problem. Let's
Thank you,
go for it.
Vicky. That's amazing.
Good job.
So we're going to pass over to the man himself, Jonathan Monkley, I believe. Is that right, Vicky?
We are, yeah.
Reshuffle everything.
Well done for saving our butts there, Vicky. You saved the day.
Thanks. Right.
We good?
I am.
Are you ready? Have you
I'm
read
ready.
everything? Right.
Okay.
So the driver behind digital twin or digital bin was because one of the founding reasons for digital twin fan club was to basically create clarity within industry and give us a bit of a direction on what we think is right and what we think is wrong. I think there's been a lot of twin wash since the emergence of the digital twin market. So we thought it'd be really good to throw in a bunch of different ideas of what could be twins and what couldn't be twins and create a bit of a poll for each one and see where people's brains were in terms of what they thought was a twin and what they wasn't a twin. So we've got, I think, 15 different examples. We're not saying they are twins or not twins, but there's going to be a poll appeared because Vicky has rebuilt a poll from the ground up. and you're going to get to vote, and we're going to discuss. And she's come in too early with a poll, but yes, that is the first example. Is an air traffic control system a digital twin? So think about what an air traffic control system is. It's controlling planes that are doing stuff. It's got radio links. It's talking to the pilots. What do you think, guys? Anyone got any comments on that?
We've got some answers already. Can you guys see the poll as it's going?
No.
Oh, someone said yes and someone said no.
I don't see the poll.
Okay. So maybe when I end the polling.
Maybe we'll see them at the end now.
Maybe it's at the end, yeah.
Probably because it's been broke.
We'll give you a few more minutes. So we've got 12 answers so far.
How many people have actually got left?
We've got 14 people. We've got 12 answers out of 14. Oh, I'm one of them. And I guess someone else out of us lot might be the other one. So
this counts as a comprehensive industry questionnaire now, doesn't it?
An air traffic control system in the digital bin, or is it a digital twin? Oh, there you go. The poll is up. It is a digital twin. So the air traffic control system is a digital twin. Someone didn't know. Interesting. Now, this was one from Henry. The idea of, is it Google Nest and having a smart home, I suppose, is the broader concept. By creating a smart home, are you creating a digital twin of your home? Now, is their poll going to appear, Vicky? Because
no, hang on. So
this is what happens when your conference gets hacked.
Everything.
Nothing works anymore.
Because guys, it's so much better. It's so much better than it like. I promise you.
Yeah.
There we go. Can you guys see that now?
Yes.
No, yeah. I don't know.
So interactive.
Ooh.
That's a really interesting question.
So we've got 8 so far.
So is Nest also going to include things like Alexa and all smart?
I think it's the broader concept of basically creating a smart
assistant.
We've got 10 out of 13. 11, 1. There we go.
I picked that one because I think it's a bit grey.
It is.
So I'll tell you why I picked that one, because it would be if it was connected to my house thermostat in a sense, but really it's just an interface to that. So actually the stuff that is the twin is the other end, is the other side. So if I've got an automated
Google Home app, isn't it?
Exactly. If I've got a thermostat system managing that, this is like an interface into a digital twin potentially, but it can also be an output from a digital twin. So I can have it I can create my own settings so that if it reaches a certain condition, it will tell me what is happening in my digital twin home. So I think it is grey.
I could argue it the other way, because it's a digital intervention that enables you to change the physical world. But I said no, but I can argue it both.
Yeah, you can. That I think that's why I chose it, because it is grey. You could argue it both ways.
Right, moving on.
I would say no, because it doesn't simulate anything. It just measures and monitors and allows you to change things digitally. I don't think you can simulate anything. So I said no.
Is it not behind the scenes simulating, running a bit of a scenario and predicting?
Well, maybe, yeah.
That's the best answer.
That's a good point.
You'd be able to say a light switch digital twin, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's
exactly.
really doing. It's just interpreting your voice and controlling something. And so, yeah, it's like it's a voice-enabled light switch. I don't think anyone would say that's a digital twin.
But if it's coming back the other, we'll move on. We'll move on because there's loads to this. I think this is there's an episode in here, and we're going to get you on.
Okay, so that's why Henry picked the grey one. This is an interesting one. I think this was picked by me because I believe the.
Hang on! Don't say anything yet.
No, you don't lead the witness.
Sorry. I have a very strong opinion on this.
Wow, it is a very debatable one. I suspect I know which way this is going to go.
We've got people are answering very, very quickly with this one.
I imagine so.
The right way.
Yeah, people were very sure of their answers.
I think Matt has completely exploded.
I think it's really
Matt
interesting. that nobody has put that they don't know for this one.
In no way is this debatable from Miranda. Matt is like, twin wash.
See the results.
Oh yeah, there you go. Sorry, I've realised that I wasn't.
Wow.
See?
How many people answered yes
Oh,
then?
we're not going to name and shame.
But
2
what is
people said
17%?
yes, but we're not going to name and shame them.
Do you know who they
unless
are?
they would like to put their point across.
Neil will be mean to you though.
Not defined. There's like an actual physical definition that you can say you're right or you're wrong though, because people will argue that someone will argue that that is a digital twin because it's. But then somebody, it's for me, it's not.
I think it's Casey's point there is really interesting. On its own, absolutely, it's not a digital twin. But could it be an element that constructs a digital twin because it's a geometric representation?
For sure. I think this is a part of the problem with the analogy, isn't it? Because if you took somebody off the street and said, right, digital twin, we've got a digital twin of a school. What do you think they're building in their head? I have a funny feeling they would be building something like this.
There's an interesting question off that then that we asked earlier. Can you make a digital twin of a website if the thing you're twinning is also a digital thing? That's not a question on this poll, but maybe we should add that on the number 11.
I like Stephen's point, a wheel is not a car. What's that, Anthony? Sorry.
You say like a digital twin of a website. I mean, I work in software and we have like things called staging sites where we have like an entire copy of the entire web app running so that we can test it, try and break it before we actually publish it. And that's just considered normal practice in software. And so, yeah, definitely.
That's like the smart labs that they have for robots, isn't it? Where they basically put them in a virtual environment to try and break them.
So can I just check? We've moved slightly on to a different subject here. Why we've had a lot of people say no, definitely not. We got a little bit into the why, but can someone really succinctly in a sentence or two say why a point cloud isn't on its own a digital twin?
A point cloud is not a digital twin because it's a piece of geometry.
Yeah, there's no physical connection back. There's no connection back to the physical through just a point cloud on its own.
So Jason in the chat has just said the point cloud isn't linked to the physical world. It's a 3D photo.
Just said, yeah.
That's what it's.
Sorry, Jason, I didn't know. I didn't mean to speak for you there.
That's all right. That's fine. Thanks, Vicky.
So it's also a static representation. It's a 3D photograph, for want of a better description, and we wouldn't describe a 2D photograph as a digital twin.
Oh,
off the phone, by the way.
Good point.
Well, I just don't open that can.
Right, the next one is interesting. Wonder what people's view on this is. So, a Strava account.
Whose route are those? Are they yours, Jonathan?
No, just literally Googled. That came up.
Not long enough for Jonathan.
Yeah, I was about to say, as if he'd do anything as short as 10 miles.
The interesting thing with this, and it's something that actually Neil and I have discussed a few times, is I have a huge amount of sensors connected from my bike to computers that kind of talk to each other and every time I'm doing anything. So is the idea of a Strava account and all the data within it, is it a digital twin?
We've got
They might
10 of 13 so far.
This is not the last question, really, is it? Just with a slightly different flavour.
Well, no, because it's the different. So for me, it's like the beacon function of Strava is twin-esque because you're replicating your position, and depending on how much telemetry you've got connected to Strava, it could be quite a highly detailed, almost real-time view of what you're doing.
Do you remember when I shared a link with you guys and it actually give you real-time heart rate, speed?
When you say you guys, remember that we've got other people on the call.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Also,
so we've got to know.
Where's the connection back again? Is that just that you read it and go, oh, crap.
It is one way. I suppose it is one way, actually.
It's not one way. It's not one way. As someone who wears a Fitbit, I would say that I monitor it regularly, and if my pace is too high or low, I change my pace for the distance I've got left. So I am changing my behavior in response to the data.
That's the difference, isn't it? Because when I've used Strava in the past, it's just been in my pocket, and then at the end I have a look and go, oh, I went quite far and that was quite slow. Whereas I think, Jonathan, you are I mean, I know you're a keen cyclist, but you monitor your heart rate. So you would be using that information to try and keep your heart rate within a certain
Try not
certain, I don't know what it is. You tell me.
zones. But anyway, that's an interesting result on that one, I think.
Can I think, Matt, you were saying a tentative yes. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, because it's receiving lots of info. I mean, like Henry said, I'm certainly not up on anything fitness related, as any of you that know me would probably suspect. But it isn't just a link to one source of information, it's from multiple sensors. But the sort of the hesitancy comes from, I guess, is it bidirectional or not?
So I guess it depends on the user.
And speaking from my point of view, probably not.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
Okay.
It's lucky to get turned on.
This is a bit less. I don't know. It's an interesting one. This.
Yeah, I think here we're seeing, because the point is being made that you need to simulate, to be able to simulate for something to be a digital twin, but actually we're looking at decision making as well, and I think simulation and decision making go hand in hand.
Okay, this next one, a gaming engine model. So a piece of 3D geometry attached to a gaming engine. Now, every single vendor that produces a gaming engine is using the term digital twin at the moment. So is a gaming engine model a digital twin?
We're caveating this again with the on its own.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
on its own.
Because it's an enabler, really, in some cases, to visualize and consume a twin.
I would say this is the fastest that we've had votes.
Probably more than-
Absolutely.
I was waiting. My mouse is in the right place already. No.
So 8% must be one person. That'd be interesting to hear from that one person why the gaming engine is a digital twin on its own.
Oh, Anthony, he's the man. He's happy to talk about it.
I guess I'm then. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, how did you know it was Anthony? I
saw his hand. I'm watching.
Gave myself away. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I was playing like Spider-Man yesterday, right? And I'm like swinging around New York, and there's all these people walking around, and I kind of do stuff, and things happen as a result. And so, I think the gaming engines, much more than things like BIM or anything, are much more valid to be a digital twin. But something I was just thinking about, like what Miranda's been saying, like what's the business problem you're trying to answer? I think like I'd still say Strava is probably more of a digital twin than this, because as a human, you're like planning, should I do this cycle route or whatever, and Strava is helping the human like answer that question. Like, I'm not ready to do this cycle yet, or I'm faster than my friend, or I did better than the last time. And so again, the simulation, you try it out, and there's like this feedback loop. But yeah, game engine is real time. It can actually do real simulation. It's much more of a digital.
My only problem with the game engine argument is on the simulation side. It's we talk about Hollywood BIM. This is almost a game engine's like the Hollywood twin, because it's trickery. Its sense of simulation isn't it's how can I make these pixels look like the real thing. It's not simulating an environment from a realistic sense. It's all the tricks of the trade in terms of tricking your perceptions into thinking that you're in a thing that's realistic. So that's the nuance. That's kind of why I went to no on that one. But
yeah, I'm having second thoughts, because I was just thinking about kind of the digital twin of a website thing. You could have a digital twin of a computer game, in Unity and Unreal. You can fly around your model before you compile it, before you turn it into a game. Simon,
I would say that the gaming engine, or whatever you're looking at, is just a viewport and a method of consuming the twin, but in itself, it is not the twin.
So it's the Google Nest of the 3D world. But anyway, right.
That was fun.
Interesting.
Let's move on to the next one. Is a building information model a digital twin?
You love your grenades, don't you, Jonathan?
I hope this comes back 100% yes.
I don't know.
Go, go, go.
I'm going to pick one.
Who's going to vote ironically? And who
He looks very pleased with his result on this one.
There's some serious witness leading going on, chaps. Okay.
Have we confused the witnesses?
You might have confused the witnesses, actually, because...
Simon, you are in contempt of Digital Twin Fan Club.
Embargo.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow, I'm surprised with that.
I don't know.
I mean, firstly, it's a fantastic model, just like to say.
If he does say so himself. Hey?
First the name building gets an extra point.
Could I ask that someone who said, I don't know, maybe that isn't Henry, sorry, Henry, shares their thinking? Anyone want to put their hand up and say?
I'll put my hand up.
Yeah.
I'll put I don't know. So the thing is I think we all want it. I think we all want it to be, but depends when you're looking at it, right? I mean, if it's a BIM model which sits in design, then no, because the building hasn't been built yet.
Mm.
So it's a maturity question. Therefore, I don't know, because I don't know where this BIM model is in its life.
Mm.
In the same way, you could say the same about a game engine model or anything you want. You basically can say, this geometry which someone has created, where is it in its maturity life? Have you just designed this beautiful looking model and therefore it has no feedback loop into the real world? Or is now this model part of a maturer stage where, oh, actually the building's been built and we've started to connect it? And that's why I put it down.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And we need to stop thinking about the model side of things. It should be a data set. It's a BIM data set. It's not dynamic. It's not connected to anything. It's very much a static thing, and it's widely regarded as being the foundation to a good built environment digital twin, having a set of structured information about whatever it's going to be. But yeah, you're right. If it's not built, if it's only in design, there's nothing real for it, physical for it to be associated with. And similarly with the website discussion earlier, or the gaming engine, the definition of a twin so far is a virtual representation of a physical thing. And if a website is a physical thing, I've not felt one before, but it's a good basis. Once you start to add dynamic data to a digital data set via a BIM process, then yeah, why not?
I think this
on its own, no.
I think that's a key divergence.
Profound point on that one, because we've got quite a few to get through.
Oh, okay.
And I think BIM's just one of those things. I think the debate will stay hot in industry forever until there is an epic twin versus BIM war and someone loses.
My last little grenade on that one is I think Michael Greaves would say that is a digital twin.
Yeah, because he would say don't take it too seriously.
And he would say if it's going to be used later to manage the building, then it would count if it's part of that life cycle. But this is all part of the shades of grey. Sorry.
Listen to the podcast. Right, next. This is an interesting one.
How many shades of grey, Henry?
Sorry, Jason.
I'd also say, throwing the grenade, is that even BIM?
Oh, that's just a 3D model.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Nothing to prove. Project was delivered very closely to the current ISO and was fantastically named and all of the correct folders and common data.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Next.
A building management system, is that a digital twin?
Quick off the mark, some people. Oh, wow. 100% so far. Oh, no, it's extended.
Can you see who the people are voting for each one?
No, I purposely anonymized it. You sound so disappointed by that, Simon.
I am.
What's the name and shame?
Do you guys see that now?
We can, yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty heavy on the side of yes.
So who's the one person said no? That'd be interesting. And the two people said I don't know.
I said no, but I almost put I don't know. And the reason I put no is because with a BMS, it's monitoring live information. It gives you the ability to see what's happened in the past, but it doesn't give you the ability usually to project the future or simulate future scenarios. So I said no, but shoot me down. I mean, it could be. It could be.
Does it give you the ability to change the future though within a BMS? Which is why I said yes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, potentially it does.
BMS systems control actuators, so they'll control thermal comfort.
Thermal comfort's such a lame
Okay,
word.
I've been swayed.
Sorry.
Technical term for it, Henry.
The really interesting part in there, a building management system will generally have no 3D geometry associated to it, really. Quite often.
Let alone sexy graphics like you got on the screen.
Good stuff. That's a really interesting one. And next we have a smart motorway control room.
I don't know why, but I want you to say motorway again.
Motorway.
Motorway.
I could say motorway. You want me to be slightly more
motorway?
No, I'd rather you did.
Motorway.
I would normally say motorway. But fine.
I used to get picked on at school for saying yesterday. Putting the emphasis on the day.
Yesterday, people came on my Zoom chat, and now I'm singing at you, and I can't stop. Yesterday.
Okay, we are.
Wow.
I'm intrigued to know if anyone's changed the way they thought they would have voted based on the conversation that we've had so far and these things.
Question. Does anyone feel that their minds have changed?
My mind's been changed, but I'm still voting the same way.
You just click yes for everything, Henry. Everything.
Yeah.
Question: is there a difference between an air traffic control system and a smart motorway control room?
I asked that question earlier.
Probably in extreme amount of distance, but
I mean, I wouldn't want to use one for the other.
No.
I think you've
Pedantic
also
answer.
But is that just because of the detail that they go into? Like, are they essentially the same?
Did Mr. Gordon, did he survive the call of the hack, or has he made it back?
I don't think Ian's made it back, no.
Oh no, so he
didn't make it back.
He was only here for about 5 minutes as well, so...
he was meant to come back now.
We've been hacked again.
Have we been hacked again?
Casey's just asked if he can share his screen for a minute at the end, so you might be planning some kind of hack.
Well, it looks like someone's hacking something.
This is a nice hack though.
What's happening? Oh, that's cute. What's happening?
I said no because I don't think the moving assets aren't tracked.
The moving
assets
are they?
They are.
Not in the same way as an air traffic control system. So it's only a digital twin of
smart motorway.
Part of the function. It's not all of the function.
But isn't air traffic control system just controlling the I'm gonna do the air quotes highways of the sky, because it's controlling the routes, right? Where an air traffic control system, please correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't have any elemental control on the aircraft.
But at least it can see the aircraft, whereas I don't think, because you're reliant on the visual input from the cameras, that's where I decided no.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, and also you've got in terms of the actors, a pilot will generally do what ATC tell them to. A road user won't.
That's good.
No one's going 50 miles an hour now. Everyone's going to go 60.
Exactly.
You've got the variable speed limits now, right? So
yeah, the smart motorways,
traffic lights, changing routes.
Yeah,
so it's interesting, isn't it? There's different conditions.
But Ian would have been the guy that we put this on for. I think he was hacked and he's gone forever now. So
he still hasn't paid for his T-shirt yet, and I've sent it to him. So
right. Another interesting one.
On that, we've sold 12 T-shirts. They're limited edition.
Henry is now a millionaire.
Volvo on-call app. I don't know anything about this.
So basically, just to contextualize it, it's an app that lets you control your car and do various different things to it. So I have the Audi version of this, and it allows you to see how much fuel's in the car, open and close the locks, do random things like open the boot. It's like not great. It's not a great interface because obviously it was built by Audi, but you can control the RNC data and push some data back to it. You can, for example, if you sat in the house, you can push a sat nav location to the car when you want to get into it. So I'm sure Volvo does the same thing. And if Neil,
yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah,
you can preheat you can set an alarm on it to preheat. You can, if you've got a logistics company and you want to put it somewhere safe, there's a special function to give them a way of opening the car to put packages in.
Wow.
You can track the car. You've got a log of all of where it's been, all the odometer and all the dashboard information, current oil levels, tire pressure. Yeah, all that.
They use a simplified version for the car hire city car system that we have here in Sweden. So all city cars are Volvo cars, and we have the same thing as a guest. So you book the car, you know where the car is, you unlock the car with your phone. There's no key. You pay for fuel with the app. You do everything. You can control it in the same way, but it's not my car. It belongs to the.
We have that. Yeah.
Did you get the results?
We're going to vote.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who's not? Is someone still on the bench?
We're waiting for one more vote, but I'm going to end the polling in 5, 4.
The voting screen didn't come up for me, so it's going to be me.
No, yeah, it's because I haven't shared it yet. There we go.
Yes. There you go.
There was a last-minute voter that jumped in.
Okay. This next one is. This may confuse people, but it's quite interesting. So what we're talking, Neil, do you want to expand on this one a little bit, just for 10 seconds? You've got 10 seconds.
This is more simulation games. So these games that are striving to be as realistic as possible. Is that a digital twin or not?
No likey, no lighty.
There's quite a consensus. Oh, it's just changed. Okay, we have got.
Wow, 2 people said yes.
No. What do you think, Jude?
One second, mate. We're nearly done. All right.
To build on that, this next one is something called Digital Combat Simulator, where it's basically a super high-end simulation. Ultimately, it's a game where the gamers have built every single system down to like the nuts, bolts, buttons, interfaces, and down to what they exactly do of fighter jets, basically. And it's meant to be as realistic as they can physically make it without basically hacking the Pentagon. So
I love how that's this next step in realism, hacking the Pentagon.
Well, supposedly there was actually someone who leaked classified data to support the development of this game in jail because of it. It's quite interesting.
That's some passion for your game.
Isn't it?
Okay,
Any
we've
Gosling's
got
available.
12 out of 13 people have answered. We've got 1 remaining. 5, 4, 3.
As we're waiting for people to come in their answers, is anyone here who's joined us from outside the UK? Are we all UK here, or have we got some international colleagues? I heard Sweden from Matt.
Yeah, I'm Sweden.
That's fantastic.
They probably did, but
Yeah.
he got hacked. They probably didn't come back. Right, and this is over to Henry's ad. This.
In Switzerland, that's brilliant.
Go on, Henry.
Do you just mute yourself for a sec, Neil? Oh, you're done. Good. A Large Hadron Collider is potentially a digital twin because it is mapping real-world things using sensors and taking that information to enable us to make decisions about whether or not we're going to start or open black holes. That's it. That's all I got. It's a good question, maybe.
We've got 8 responses so far.
I don't know.
You're kind of you're simulating something, but you're also simulating and reading the real because like they're split.
Yeah, exactly. It's you could come down either way on this, I think, because it is. Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, I think that it probably has a digital twin to help them operate it, but it itself is telling us something that a computer model cannot tell us. That's why we have to kind of do the experiment because we're not sure whether our laws of physics that we can run in computers are right or wrong or not.
Exactly. So it's interesting there, isn't it? Because this is probably one of the most mixed responses that we've got. That we've come at this almost from the other direction, where actually we're using reality to drive a digital simulation. We've been so focused on we're trying to use digital tools to manage a physical thing. We're actually coming the other way now, and we're trying to use digital information. We're trying to use real world sensing to inform our simulations.
I said yes to this one because before they built it, they would have absolutely built a 3D representation of it and tested it to see if it was going to do what they did. They didn't just knock it up and then see what it's doing. So I put yes.
So that's an interesting one. And moving on, this is basically for me, and the last one is super important. The Apollo program simulators. I really recommend our podcast with Michael Greaves to hear about this. But the Apollo program simulators were kind of the birthplace of the idea of digital twin, particularly the Apollo 13 incident where they blew stuff up. So as the Apollo program simulators, are they digital twins? Because this kind of, in some ways, this is showing how far this stuff goes back. It's not a new thing.
And the divergence of thought that has come about.
Because they were doing it with pocket calculators.
And physical mock-ups,
Yes, brilliant. And finally, again, this is Neil's Goat Simulator.
What the hell's that?
I'd love to know what you actually do in Goat Simulator.
Simulate a goat, and you look at it.
But why, though?
It's a meme. The whole game is a meme. It's a chronic waste of time, and I highly recommend it. You can get your goat on a skateboard, but it's really difficult to do tricks.
Did we get a result, Vicky, on that one?
Wait a sec.
Oh, we did. Neil is a goat.
I missed it.
Is Neil a goat then? Okay.
That's the that's
right. So now I've got to. So thank you very much for that one. I've got to totally confuse myself and get back to where we were on this one. So basically, that is the end of our hacked event. But there's a few things to just end on where we want to go next. We would ideally like to have a face-to-face event, which we did have planned in April before the world imploded. I'm sure we will we'll do that again at some point.
Could we just pass over? Casey wants to share something from the event that he did the other day that sort of supports the discussion we've been having. Are we happy to pass over to him for a minute? Sorry, excuse the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, Casey, you got to impress now.
It's nothing to impress. It's just to reinforce what everyone's saying. Hopefully, if you can see this screen, we did a similar exercise for CDBB. We had a series of scenarios, and we asked people to put red Post-it notes on the things they thought weren't digital twins, and green ones on the ones they thought were digital twins. And it's just nice to see that they align with all the results from the ones we've just been through here. So well done.
Nice.
Nice.
That was it.
We win.
I'm totally confused now.
Ian's made it back. Thanks, Ian. Sorry about the drama. But I feel like we've all learned something.
We've learned that it's easy to hack Zoom.
I think just to close out, we want to be the place for digital twin sanity. I think that was one of the key drivers for founding this place, just to give people a platform to speak honestly and openly. It's not about who's the most important twinner. It is just about being open and honest and having a place to come and speak. And that's what we want the fan club to be. We'll continue with our podcasts, but we want to be we've all had a lot of fun with this. As you can see, everything's very, very interesting. It's not corporate pictures. It's people drawing hearts and hacking our Zoom meetings, which is fine.
It's all with love.
We still have the podcast getting developed. Henry's got a huge pipeline of editing. The reason we're selling T-shirts is to push our brand and the cool, but also we need to fund a little bit of time for editing and things like that, because we have about another 6 or 7 in the pipeline, Henry. Probably more.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry, what? Sorry,
So
what?
please order your t-shirts. They come in small, medium, and large, and they are the designs.
So if you're discussing them with me, we have basically, I'm calling them classic logo, which is the top right and bottom left, and then we have we're calling it the Miami Fever logo. Well, I just made that up, but
all money goes to the Digital Twin Fan Club not-for-profit fund for funding events, which, for example, pizza, beer, and editing. That is everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing.
So great.
An ask there for size guide. If you kind of consider them being normal t-shirt sizes, so they're not like large.